Let's create beautiful folio album from scratch. Hi, it's Emilia, and today I will show you step by step how I made this folio album. I'm using the newest collection from Stamperia, The Art of Traveling. Very similar project I was showing on my channel few days ago, and so many people wanted me to create a tutorial, so I thought, why not? Today I'm bringing you the video. This album can be made with any collection in any theme, but I'm using the newest collection from Stamperia. It has very positive colors, lots of lovely designs. I truly love how it turned out because the colors in the collection are so positive. So let's start with making the cover. For that you will need two chipboard pieces for a front and back cover, one for a spine, and two pieces of cardstock. The cardstock I'm using for the cover is 120 GSM. It cannot be very thick card. I mean, it could, but there is a big chance that it will break. That's why it's better to use a thinner card and more flexible. I will use two A4 cards and I will just join them together to have one bigger piece. Don't worry about that joining point. I will try to have it in the middle of my spine. The measurements for the cards and for everything I will provide in the description box below the video, so please check there, and also I will provide the links for the products I'm using today. Most of the time for adhering anything in the albums I use combination of tape and glue. In the video I will skip these parts sometimes applying the glue or applying the tape, but this is my usual to-go combination, and even if you don't see me applying the tape or glue, probably I did it off the camera. This is just so you know, because the video is quite long already, and applying that glue to every piece takes some time, like making the album as well. So when you create the cover, it is important that you will leave the gaps between the cover and the spine. You need the gap for the paper to work easily, to the covers to have room to fold and open. And then I trim the paper to the size a little bit larger than the cover. I trimmed the corners. When you're doing the corners, leave 2-3 millimeters of the corner. Don't cut it to the very cover, the paper. You need a little bit more. And then I worked with the bone folder to score the paper from the top just a little bit, and then to fold that paper. I try to work with it before I will stick it to the cover. This way the paper, this is all to avoid breaking the paper. So I'm applying the tape all around, and then I will apply the glue to the paper and will be sticking one side after another. This part you want to take time, do it slowly, and work with that paper so all looks really nice and neat. Bone folder is a must with that step. For me at least, it helps a lot to smooth everything and to make the paper flat. It really helps. Of course, you can try other tools and work with your fingers as well, because our hands are the best tools. I like to start on the longer sides, but this is my preference. You can start on the shorter sides, and then when these two are done, I will tuck that paper in the corners into the into the corners, because we've got a little, very little pieces of paper on the sides which are at the moment sticking out. So by tucking it in, you will make the corners look really nice and neat. I will try to explain every step I make, but if you have any questions after the video, let me know in the comments. I do not add glue or tape in the spaces between the cover and the spine, but it is optional. You can do that. I prefer not to do it. So these pieces are a bit loose, just, you know, it's a very small part, but I think the paper works better when it has no glue there. So when you've got the cover ready, the outside paper, then I will start by covering it from the inside. First I will apply the glue on the spine and only on the spine, and I will add that little piece of paper on top. I leave the edges at that point without the glue, because I want to work with the paper a little bit before adhering it to the covers. So where you've got that space between the cover and the spine, this paper should go slightly into that space. Of course, again, here we work slowly and take time, because it's easy to create the ribs in that paper. And then when I feel that, you know, it's more into that into that shape I want, then I will adhere the sides. I could add glue on the whole piece at the beginning, but I find this way works better for me. Then we add two more panels to cover our sides of the covers. This panel is slightly smaller than the cover, 2-3 millimeters from each side, and then the cover is done and it looks absolutely lovely. So I hope with this video you will be able to repeat my steps to create your gorgeous album. Like I said, I created similar folio album with the music collection from Stamperia. Here you can see it, and today I will be repeating that layout. So I'm starting with creating the waterfall on the left side of the album. For that, and just one thing, because I ran out of brown card, I decided that the inside of my album will have that lovely gray color. This paper is around 220 GSM, and that's the thickness I would use for the cards and for creating the pages and pockets in your album. So going back to the waterfall, I will have, I'm not sure, I think 6 cards which are scored 1 centimeter from the edge, plus the top card which has 2 scoring lines, and between the lines there is 3 millimeters. In the inches it will be 1 space on your scoring board. This is to add more room for your top page, because when you will add photos to your waterfall, it will become a little bit higher, then it won't stay as flat. That's why we need a bit of more room on that top part. And I'm starting with the top part, and then I will be adding each flap right next to the end of my previous one. You will see that this way you will have no room between, no brown space between the pages. Every time when I add a new page, I check if it's all in line with the previous one. Again, here, please do not rush. Generally, making an album takes time. If you want everything to look really nice, the more time you spend on it, of course, the better it will look. For the closure, to keep that waterfall in place, I'm going to use a piece of acetate. This strip has 3.5 centimeters, but you can create it thinner or wider. It doesn't really matter. I only consider the width when I know exactly what element I will have on top, as I will use 2 magnets to keep that, secured. So one magnet will be on the strip and the other will be on the top flap. You can add magnets in different places. I usually do that and it works quite well. Actually, here, I don't know why my magnets are not super strong. I think because I could actually add 2 magnets to that flap, because the one I'm adding later I found out it doesn't hold it as much as I would like. It still works fine, but I think could be a bit better, so 2 magnets maybe would be a better option. I don't know why. For this album, as in the previous, I had 1 magnet and it was absolutely fine. So I have chosen some elements which I think I may use. I know now that I didn't use them, but you start with the idea and then the idea may change. Obviously, when you apply the papers and everything and you think, okay, actually I don't like that combination, and you go for something else. And that was in that case. I, in the end, went for a lovely tag to create that piece covering the magnets. So I will apply the magnet to the top flap and then another one with a piece of tape, and then I will bring the acetate to catch that magnet. And this is the closure. You can now apply the paper on the top flap. I will not be covering the other flaps with the paper. I will only add strips of leftover paper, but it will be much later when I've got some offcuts, as I like to use all the strips, everything I have left, to finish off the album. So for now I will be just doing the main elements, and later I will finish everything off with the leftovers. Now I'm going to create the pocket. My system for the pocket, I think it's a bit unusual, but you will see why. So I'm starting with a piece of paper, and the height of my pocket will be 2 centimeters, so around 1 inch. So for each side of the pocket, I mean the bottom and 2 sides, I will score it twice, so then I can fold the paper and have like a double layer for these sides, as I want this pocket to be strong. You could create it with the cardboard, but I'm using the paper. So I will show you how I'm going to cut. In the corner I added the marks, so you can see how I will create a little flap joining the side of the pocket with the bottom of it. So you need to cut off some pieces and have that flap to adhere one side to another. This is the same when you would create a box or a drawer, things I showed in my videos before. And then so my paper is scored in half. I've got, now I am on the top of my pocket, and I will cut these little pieces to stick them inside the pocket, like I said before, to create that double layer and make this pocket stronger. The pieces I'm cutting now will be all inside the pocket, so no one will see that. Before assembling the pocket, I'm adding the magnets. On top of the pocket, I will have the flap later, closing at these magnets. So I prefer to add 2 here on both left and right side of the pocket, and then I already pre-cut the pattern paper to go on the front, bottom and on the sides. The paper is slightly smaller than each side of the pocket, and when I apply the paper, I do not go near the magnets with the bond folder. I do it, keep it quite away, because if you go very near the magnets, there will be later more visible. I will keep the other 2 magnets on top for now. This is where they will go on that top flat we will create in the second to have a lovely closed pocket. When adhering pocket to the album, is important that everything will be straight and in line. As you can see, I didn't add any pattern paper to my cover. You can do that, but I will do it later. I will slide pattern paper inside my pocket. But if your pocket is much smaller than the cover, then you would consider adding the pattern paper to the cover first and then adhering the pocket. But because my pocket is almost the same size, Very important here is to leave room between your pocket and the spine, so you can close the album with no problem. And then I will use the bone folder just to smooth everything inside, and this part of the pocket is done. When creating a top flap, I like to start with a longer piece, and then I can have a opportunity to use a edge punch, or like here you will see that I use the round panel to create a curved edge for my top flap. The flap is the same width as the pocket, so when it's closed it's all in line. For the edge you can use your imagination here. Just bear in mind that you already have 2 magnets on the pocket, so you will need to have the other 2 on your flap. So you need to consider that when you're trimming the edge of your flap. Before attaching the magnets, I'm making sure that everything is straight, the top part stays where it should, and then I will place the tape on the magnets, and then we'll cover that side and the other side with the pattern paper. Now when the main parts of my album are ready, I can take all the leftovers of paper and then I can trim the little strips to go on the waterfall. That's why I was waiting with that step, because I wanted to have some offcuts to choose from, and also I didn't use any new papers. I didn't want to start cutting in the new paper. I wanted to use this already cut into pieces. Of course, you know, it's just my way of working. I prefer to do it to use as much as I can from what I've already started using. And that was also the moment when I changed my mind regarding the think that should go on the acetate, and I decided to go with the tag. This tag has a little car on it, and before I will attach it to the acetate, I'm going to adhere it to a piece of paper the same color as my waterfall, and then I'm also cutting another piece of paper which will go on the back. This way I will note that it will be a strong piece, strong element. I'm not going to add anything on top. This will be my element for opening and closing the waterfall. There are few tags in the collection to choose from. Of course, you can go for totally different element. You can choose one of the chipboards I have chosen before, ephemera element, or anything else cut out of the collection, or a die cut element which you will create with the pattern paper. Anything could work here as long as the magnet stays in the correct place. You need to feel that it's closing nicely and keeping that waterfall in place. Now I'm going to adhere the paper and then the pattern paper on top to the spine. The pattern paper is slightly smaller than that cardstock, and the inside of the folio album will be finished. The next step will be to create some cards and photo mats to go into our pocket. For the cards and photo mats, I'm using also offcuts of the plain cardstock in various sizes, so I created various shapes of the cards. One is just a plain rectangle, the other one has a little flap on top, then the next one is scored in three and folded, and the largest one is also just a large plain photo mat without any flaps. I will pre-cut some papers to go on top of my mats and cards. And I found out that the frames, the little cards which are in the collection, are actually one of it I will use on my card. It's just the perfect size, and then I'm going to use two punched circles to go on top. This will create a handle, you could say, the decorative element on top, just to place where you can grab and take out the card from the pocket. You don't need to do it, it could stay as a rectangle. I just think for the photo mats and for the cards it looks more interesting if it has something on top. For the next one I'm going to use magnets. It has a little flap on top, so I'm pre-cutting the paper. The paper is always for me slightly smaller than the base, and then I will have the magnets to close it and open it. And then, since I already had the magnets, I thought I will create a little tag also with the magnet to go on top of the flap, but this will be removable piece. Then someone can take this magnet, the element, and I don't know, place it on the fridge or on the metal board. I thought something different, and I really like how it turns out. For the next card, I planned the closure with the little brad and a piece of string. There is so many ways you can make this unique and interactive in your own way. I'm just showing you today few solutions, but of course many different opportunities and possibilities to decorate and to finish off your mats and photo cards. So I've got this little flap, and I thought the stack of suitcases will look really nice here. It's very similar size to my flap. I will add a little piece of pattern paper underneath. I will also pre-cut the larger piece of paper. I will be decorating only the front of the card, and I will use the brad and string to be able to, you know, keep it like together, to open it and to close. So when you do that, you do need to think about your steps. As I'm going to add the brad to the suitcases, I have to do it before I will attach them to that flap. I mean, I could do it after, but then you will have that other side of the brad where it would be visible if you go through all the layers. So it's better just to do it before adhering your top element to the base. One important thing here, the brad cannot go completely flat. You need to raise it a little bit to be able later to have the string going around it. If you will press it too hard and it will be very flat on your paper, you won't be able to tie the string around it. So that's what you should have in mind when you're doing it. I helped myself with the bone folder to keep it up from the paper. To finish it off, I'm adding one little wooden bead to the string. This is absolutely optional. I just thought it would look nice here. The last card will have a decorative edge, and I'm using one of my punches. You could use a cutting die here, or you could leave it plain. Decorative scissors, tear it on the top. I just thought I'm going with this punch as it sits on my shelf. It's not used much, but it's such a nice punch, so I thought, well, I need to start using the things I have in my stash more. And then I will adhere the pattern paper, because I didn't have any large papers enough to cover it in whole. I'm going to add 3 different pieces, but actually it will look really nice here. So I will have 3 different patterns. It doesn't matter. Of course, I would go for a new paper if it would be really important to me, but I just again decided to use the offcuts. For the cover I will use the pattern paper, but my main element will be this beautiful shape made with the resin using one of the molds from the Art of Traveling collection. It has a car with suitcases on top, and I will paint that element. I will show you the process of painting it. You can skip that step if you're not interested in that, but I thought it can be useful for some people which like using molds and who likes painting as well. So I'm starting with the brown paint. This is my usually first step, to have the darker color in the grooves, and that's the main reason, starting with the darker color, and then I'm removing some of that color with the wipes, because like I said, I want to have it in the grooves, and then I will apply other colors on top. It is important to wait for the paint to dry before applying the another color on top. I'm not always too patient, but yeah, so this will take some time. For the car I decided to go with the green mint color, so I mixed few colors together, and then I will create the suitcases in 3 different colors. You don't need to worry too much about painting it really, nicely. What I do, that brown color really helps that first layer to keep it all in the like a vintage shabby chic style, and then I will wait for this to dry before adhering it to my album. Like I said, the suitcases will be each in different color, and honestly don't worry about painting too much. I used to thought I'm not really good at it, but when you combine few colors and then finish off some of the elements, it will look very nice. And when all the colors are dry, I will go with the ivory or white color, usually ivory, on top to add highlights. For that step, use dry sponge or dry brush. It cannot be wet, because you only want some of that light color to go on top to create the highlights. For the cover, I will use that plain card first on top of the cover, on the front and the back, and then on the spine, and then I will use pattern paper. Like before, the pattern paper is slightly smaller than the cardstock to create the little border around. And this is very simple cover. I didn't want to spend too much time on decorating it. I already spent the time on painting that element, and this element is so pretty that I don't think it needs many more embellishments. The way I cut the pattern paper is that it was one paper and it goes from the front to the back, but as you can see, it wasn't big enough, so I'm adhering another piece. Luckily, the back of that had few different designs. You can see there are different like stripes with different designs, so adding that last one didn't change much, and it looks like it's supposed to be like that. I'm also adding few chipboard pieces painted with grey acrylic paint, and then with the ivory on top for distressing. I've got a little heart, arrow, and a sentiment saying travel. And this will be it for the front cover. The back is already done. I'm not adding anything else, as I think this pattern paper is so pretty that it is enough. I wanted to keep it simple but pretty. And believe me or not, but this will be the end of the video. I will show you the whole album, how it looks and everything, and I'm so in love with it, and I hope you will like it as well. I would like to know your feedback about the video, about the length of it. It is again a longer video about all the steps. Is it enough for you to recreate something similar? Is it useful? Things like that. Please let me know, as I would like to know what the content you like on my channel, what you would like to see. Is it too slow, too fast? Anything you can think of, please let me know in the comment. I do love how this album looks. It has very beautiful colors, and it is really interesting to quite simple but interesting to have that big pocket inside where you can create so many different cards and photo mats, and the simple waterfall on the other side. I think it looks very pretty. Thank you so much for joining me today. I do hope you will love this video and this project, and if you would like, I can create more similar projects in the future. Take care everyone, have a lovely creative day. Bye bye!